Hello everybody. So this is a vlog about American literature where I basically go and interview people about what they think about American literature, if they have any favorite stories or novels in American literature, what sort of a different ending they might give to it, and also the relevance of American literature. So to start off the vlog, I would like to give a brief introduction about it. So, American literature, it reflects the nation's cultural evolution from indigenous oral traditions and Puritan writings to modern contemporary works, and it explores the themes of identity, freedom, democracy, and social justice, which is shaped from historical movements such as Transcendentalism, the Harlem Renaissance, and postmodernism. So, some of the key figures in American literature includes writers like Walt Whitman, Nathaniel Hawthorne, Toni Morrison, and many others. So, spanning from poetry, novels, dramas, and essays, American literature, it remains a dynamic force in understanding the country's history, values, and the changing societal landscape.
So I feel like American literature is very closely tied in the sentiments to modern literature because American literature is like initially like roots come from it being this literature of displacement where people from one country just dislocated to another country and they're trying to find a new way into that place.
So my thoughts about American literature are it's a bit all over the place because primarily I don't feel anything. I don't have like a strong connection with American literature. I have read a lot of pieces of American literature as part of my UG. I don't like their poetry per se. I don't think there's anything ingenious about their poetry. But I do like the short stories though, the short stories of Edgar Allan Poe. And if I ever had like one favorite American author, that would be H.P. Lovecraft. Now, H.P. Lovecraft is by far my most favorite American writer, my favorite science fiction horror writer, because H.P. Lovecraft has this way of blending together like different aspects of like cosmic horror, while also revealing a lot of cultural antecedents and cultural perceptions of America in his particular day and age. So I do feel that American literature is unique in some ways. If you take mainstream American literature, I don't find it appealing to me in any way because I do feel that it is imitating a lot of European trends and other continental trends. But if you take writers like H.P. Lovecraft, he comes close to establishing a sort of authenticity or uniqueness to the American's cultural psyche. So yeah.
American literature, I feel like American literature was necessary in order to give the sense of a national spirit to the American people, and it's a very new country. It's basically a newborn or a toddler at this stage, and the people wanted to feel distinct or separate from their European ancestry to create that American identity and that American national spirit. There was a need to write American literature, and that literature should be very region specific, which is the American region, of course, dealing with themes or issues that are quintessentially American and problems that pertaining to the land of America. Again, going back to the earlier response, this has got a lot to do with racism because racism is a major issue in the US. It's an issue all over the world, but we do have an extensive history of racial discrimination in America, and American literature does tend to deal with this because I feel like it's a literature that pertains to its region. So it is necessary for the people to feel very American about themselves, especially considering the fact that they don't really have a strong literary tradition in the West, and the people living in America, the whites especially, they are from various ethnic backgrounds. Ethnic in the sense they are from various parts of Europe. So for them all to unite as one under the term of umbrella, under the American umbrella, they need a literature that boosts their nationalist spirit.
So my favorite short story would be H.P. Lovecraft's Dagon, I have two actually. I'd like to discuss two because both of them are pretty similar. H.P. Lovecraft's Dagon is like a very very short. It's a short story, and it's about like a man who gets lost at sea, and he ends up in this very very odd landscape where everything is like fishy, and everything is fishy as in literally fishy because it's like sort of a very marine sort of ecosphere. And there he comes across this mysterious pillar, and when he turns with like very very alien, with like alien markings and sculptures and all of that sort, and he ends up discovering that there is an eldritch god. Now an eldritch god is basically, these are all alien gods that exist within our universe according to H.P. Lovecraft. In most of his stories that's how it works, where they do not belong in our plane of existence, they belong in higher planes of our existence, and humans cannot comprehend these beings, so they end up turning mad. So I feel like in Dagon, it would have been nice if he could establish. It's a story that starts off with the narrator experiencing this. It's like an account of a sailor. What would have been nice is that if it had the same sort of ending that were present in most of his other short stories, where characters are literally driven mad by seeing eldritch horrors beyond their mortal comprehension. So that idea of madness is not really fully fledged out. You could assume that the character goes mad, but he's not mad. He's sane enough to write the story. So I feel like the addition of madness there to that particular story of Dagon would have been like a good addition to his story. So in my opinion, the short story feels very incomplete. So yeah.
I do have a lot of favorite books, but I do not think I'd want to change the ending of the novels and even the poems that I like, because like that is a very integral part of American literature, right? Like the themes of individualism and a little bit of transcendentalism, these are all very personal, and like changing them or altering them as a reader would take away from the I think the overall beauty of the literature that is falling under American literature. And yeah, to talk about my favorite books, I have a lot. Lolita by Nabokov is a really good one. I have a favorite American literature poet. Sylvia Plath is amazing. I love her poems so much. Then again, that little bit of confessionalism that goes into her works, I cannot interpret it any differently than she would have wanted us to. Like there is this big huge discourse of separating the art from the artist, but I don't know. I think I personally like reading works of art as products of the artists themselves.
So yeah, I think American literature continues to influence the world greatly today. So because America remains an imperialist superpower, right? And especially in the era of social media, they dominate all of our visual platforms a lot more. We know what is happening with the elections in terms of Trump, Kamala Harris. Even if we don't know who our local politicians are, we know what's happening at the Oscars. So American art continues to have a huge influence across the world because of what happened because of the boom they had during the 20th century and the modernist era, right? We saw how Bradbury identifies this, how during that era they had a conscious effort of nation building, and a unique literature that comes along with that. And great writers such as Edgar Allan Poe, T.S. Eliot, all of them contributed to this canon of an American literature. But along with that, they also usurped, I wouldn't say usurped, they also had with them a big part of what we call postmodern literature, right? People like Pablo Picasso, people like Jorge Luis Borges, all of them ended up in the United States and contributing a lot to American literature, even though their literature comes from other regions, and in the case of Picasso, art, of course. So yeah, American literature has managed to absorb a lot of different kinds of literature and produce it under its own canon of American literature, thereby helping it establish itself as a literary kind of superpower, and that influence continues even today. So I think we need to take its influence seriously so that we understand the ways in which it's impacting us. There are both positive and negative influences of this, which is that there's this kind of universalized sensibility there that that there is a danger of developing, while at the same time there are always artists from everywhere that contribute and represent to things that are important in the world. For me personally, I think in the contemporary era there are a lot of artists I admire, like Tran Mire Guante, Andrea Gibson, N.B. Stevenson. They write really unique literature that I believe continues to change and improve this canon of American literature.
I don't think American literature is still relevant today. We still have problems regarding racism and homophobia, but the literature that we have in America right now, it tends to be more capitalist in its production. It deals with materialistic aspects of life more than the social aspect of it. Of course, we do have an underground counter response to it where people talk about issues like racism and homophobia, transphobia as well, but still I feel like in a global context it is not as relevant because the rest of us have our issues which we have to deal with, and they are very pertain to our region, which we should focus more on. So I think there's nothing wrong reading American literature. It does give you a good worldview. It does make you understand how things work over there and what kind of issues the people over there face. But I feel like the literature as a whole is not very diverse in the sense that the only meaningful literature you can find, it has got something to do with the social injustices of that nation. Not that I blame it or anything, but yeah, to the rest of us it's somewhat irrelevant because in our context it is no longer applicable.
Whether or not American literature is relevant is not something that anybody should judge, in my opinion. I'm a very strong and passionate musician, and especially I want to get into musicology, and you often find people saying that European music is very outdated now, you should all perform all these world musics, something beyond the English speaking communities. And sure, but then all music is equally beautiful in my opinion, a generic opinion, but still when you say that American literature has these problems, so do others. Making judgments on the art because of its affiliation is a problem, and there is always the issue of deciding whether or not something is or is not American literature. If I immigrate to the United States and write something there, is it Indian literature or is it Indo-American literature? Obviously, these are fields of study in itself, these affiliations, but I still think judging relevance is different. But judging relevance for education is another matter, but judging relevance as an umbrella term as just, do you think it's relevant? I do not believe in such judgments.